I was about 4 or 5 years old and my parents had just separated. My mom was living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I had my own room, but I preferred to sleep in her bed whenever I was staying with her. Our 2 bedrooms were at the end of a hallway, directly across from each other. Our apartment was on the first floor, and I remember that it was in the middle of the summer and my mom had a window open in her room, which was directly behind the bed, above the headboard. Anyways, I woke up in the middle of the night and remember sitting up and seeing our cat was sitting in the door frame of my mom's room. Her door was open and you could partially see into the bedroom. This was strange because our cat was typically always in bed with us. As I was watching him, he walked into my bedroom and meowed. I turned to face my mom to wake her up. In the 3 to 4 seconds it took for her to wake up and ask me what was wrong, we both looked back at the door frame and there was a man standing by my open door, making his way out of my bedroom. I still don't know how she managed to do it so quickly, but my mother proceeded to pick me up and literally throw me out of the screen window. We were in the first floor and it was maybe a 3-foot drop on the ground. She quickly followed and we were able to start screaming for help and someone called 911. The police came but didn't see any signs of forced entry, only that our front door was unlocked, which led them to believe that the man must have exited that way. The strange thing was that my mom swore up and down that she had locked the door that night with the deadbolt and the chain lock. About 1 week later, she was cleaning the kitchen and opened up our water heater closet and found a notebook with names and drawings, as well as a pair of gloves and some gum wrappers. The police were called again, but all they could do was speculate that the man had been in our house and was hiding until we were asleep. A terrifying but true story I experienced when I was 12. I moved to my dad's when I was 10 and didn't know anyone in the area, except for the family my dad was friends with. Single mom with 3 kids. Luckily there was a girl a couple years older than me. I was 12 at the time I met her, and we got to know each other a little over a couple years. We weren't close, but ended up having the same friends. One night my friend Rob was hanging out with her and her younger brother. They happened to be in the house alone because my friend's mom was at work, which is where this gets terrifying and sad. Her mother has been helping this one lady through her work and got to know her fairly well. She found out her sister was in a mental institution and was let out recently. The night Rob was hanging out with my friend, they got a knock on the door. My friend thought it was Rob. My friend Rob thought he wasn't supposed to be there, and he took off through the window to the house down the road. He never thought twice about it. It wasn't her mom. It was the sister of the lady her mom was helping, and she figured out through talking to her sister where her family lived and her mom's working schedule. She came in, and this is where I don't know the details, and I'm glad I don't. My friend's younger brother got away to the neighbors to call the police. The lady brutally murdered my friend a week from Christmas, decapitated her and left her body naked in a bathtub. They hid her head. They had to look through the presents, and I don't know where they found it, but they did. I wasn't allowed to go to her funeral. A few years ago, I was home alone at nighttime. I was watching TV in the living room when I heard the doorbell ring. Whenever I hear the doorbell ring, especially when I'm home alone, I am cautious to answer it. I walk up to the peephole without turning on the porch light so they don't know if anyone is actually home or not, and look through. It's really dark, but I can see a small figure, more like a black blob. I didn't know its definite shape and had to be around 3 to 4 feet tall, doing this dancing motion, dipping down and oscillating its arms outward. Think of a person moving their arms like wings gracefully. It was dark outside, but this figure was more opaque, so I could see this going on. After a few seconds, I stopped looking through the peephole because it was too freaky to look at. I regained some courage to look back through, and whatever it was gone. To this day, I still don't know what that was, and I get freaked out thinking about it. I've told this story before in another thread. My mother-in-law was a very funny and cool woman. She and my wife were really close, and sadly, she passed away when our son was about 4 months old. Flash forward a few years. We live in an old 1930s era craftsman house in Pasadena, California. Our son is about 3 at the time. I was giving him a bath one night, and he starts looking over my shoulder, not at random stuff, but at something. A moment passes and he asks me why grandma calls mommy a funny name. I asked him what he meant, thinking he was talking about my mom. He then says, why does grandma call mommy which was my mother-in-law's nickname for my wife. I was really set back by this. My wife and I never used this nickname. It was just what her mom called her since she was a baby. I asked him where he heard that. His reply, the farmer told me. I asked him who the farmer was and he replied, his friend. I tell my wife this story later and she's of course reduced to tears over the whole nickname thing. We both know that there is no way for him to know this and we just kind of marvel at it. Flash forward to the next weekend and my son is playing in his room. My wife is at work. She works retail and I'm at home. I work Monday to Friday. I hear him start talking like he's having a conversation. He's saying things like yes, no, I don't know that. Then some laughing. I go into his room and ask him what he's doing and he said he's playing. I ask with who? He says the farmer. At this point I'm already thinking about the fucking Exorcist movie and Captain Howdy. It's a little unsettling. I ask him where the farmer is. He says he left when I came in. So my wife gets home and I tell her this and now she's just as weirded out as I am. We have no idea what to do and figure if it happens again we'll do something. A few days later in the middle of the night we both overhear our son saying the following.
Grandma says you and I can't be friends anymore.
The wife and I go check on him, both of us a little freaked. He's just sitting up in bed. I ask if he's okay and he says, yeah, Grandma says I can't play with the farmer anymore. He never once mentioned the farmer again, not ever. He's 13 now and doesn't remember any of it. We do though.